T-minus 1 minute. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Tonight on Truth Today, we're going to be discussing Sharia crimes taking over U.S. cities. Yes, folks, it's coming to a community near you. It is everywhere, and it's only going to be expanding. We're going to have our guest, former Chief of Police, David Borres, Sharia Crime Stoppers, Dick Manasseri. We're going to be talking about jihad, honor killings, violence, blasphemy laws, all of those things that are against our Constitution, our laws, our Judeo-Christian heritage. Will America have the will to fight back against this sabotage? That and much more right now on Truth Today. Sorry about that, folks. Hit the wrong button. We want to welcome you tonight to Truth Today. Pastor Shariah, I'm heading with you with Truth in Love Ministry. I apologize about the delay in getting started tonight. We're still having some audio issues with one of our guests. And so if you guys can pray with us that, Lord willing, somehow we can figure this out. We will try to get this better when we have multiple guests on at one time. But we're grateful you can be with us. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. If you want to know more about our ministry and where we're going to be speaking, please visit our website, tilministry.com, tilministry.com. I'm going to be heading over next month, folks, to Wisconsin and Minnesota, 8 nights. We're also going to be at the state capitol in Minnesota, Saturday, May 10th, 10 a.m. for a prayer and repentance event there at the evil state capitol in Minnesota. Check that out as well. And May 3rd, if you're here in East Tennessee, we're going to have our Stand with Israel event with our good friend, a Messianic Jew who is from Israel. Aaron Lavarco will be here with us. That'll be Saturday, May 3rd here. Tickets are limited, so please visit our website under our events calendar, and you can register there. Registration is required for that May 3rd event here in East Tennessee. Also want to encourage you that if you are on Rumble, we are now live streaming tonight to 3 places. We are live streaming obviously on Rumble, and I'm checking our chat here. So let us know on the chat where you're from. We'd love to see where people are from. Also, if you have questions, ask your question. And if we have some time with our guests, we will try to get to that. We are live streaming to Facebook, and we have tried. And my wife said, let's give it a shot again. We are live streaming to YouTube again. We were kicked off. Remember, they deplatformed us. We have started a new channel. So don't tell them. But we'll see how long we last on YouTube, because we're not going to stop speaking the truth that is necessary to be spoken. So you can check us out there. Again, if you're not on our other platforms, check out our Rumble channel, rumble.com/ShariahMhadian, rumble.com/ShariahMhadian. Do us two things. Do us a favor, two things, please. Click follow, click like to help build up our viewership. So we're grateful for all of you joining us tonight. I know some people are still jumping on board. We got people from all over the country tonight. We may not have a lot of people, but we have lots of representation from all over the country, including in Texas. And Texas, folks, we're going to be talking about you tonight, because Texas better wake up. Texas better get its act going, because you guys are kind of on the forefront all of a sudden of this Islamic takeover that we're going to be talking about, and we continue to talk about tonight. And our show tonight is focused again on Sharia crimes. We're talking about Islamic law. What is the way or the path? The word Sharia in Islam, in Arabic, means the way or the path of their false god, Allah. So when we say Sharia law, we're really saying Sharia law, the law of that false god. Of course, we know that Allah is not the true God. It is not the God of the Bible. Don't let anybody tell you that it is the same God. That is a end times evil demonic deception. But we're talking tonight about Sharia crimes taking over U.S. cities, coming to a neighborhood near you, folks. If you think any part of America is immune from this, then we're sadly mistaken. Now, my guest will be former Police Chief David Boras, Sharia Crime Stopper leader Dick Manasseri. Now, we were supposed to have our good friend, former FBI agent David Baldovin, but we're having some issues with his audio. And so if we can't get him on tonight, my apologies to David, my apologies to you, our audience, and we will get it rectified for the next time, because as we mentioned before, we're going to have this as an ongoing show, ongoing theme, ongoing teaching and education on this platform. Every few weeks, we're going to be bringing this back to you. One quick verse I want to share with you. We always start in the Word of God, and oh, that's not it. I think I'm click happy tonight with my finger. Sorry about that. There's the picture I wanted. If you go to the Bible, I'm sharing again in the book of Hosea, chapter 4. Book of Hosea, chapter 4. And this is a theme that the Lord has laid on my heart that I'm going to be sharing more this year. We have sometimes ad nauseum heard people quote this passage, which applied, of course, to Israel first, Israel's rejection of God and God calling Israel to return back to him. I think the application can be true for any nation, any people group, including America, where we started as a Christian nation. We started as a nation that had that moral Christian foundation. We've gone so far afield, and now we are being destroyed for a lack of knowledge. True, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We've all heard that passage, and okay, we get it. But we oftentimes do not read the next verse. Why are they being destroyed for a lack of knowledge? Because you have rejected knowledge. So that's the key. And then the Lord says, I also will reject you from being priests for me, because you have forgotten the law of your God. I will also forget your children. Wow, what a warning to Israel. But I think it can apply to us. We are being destroyed from within, not because we are just ignorant. Yes, that's true. But it is also because we are now blatantly, as a nation, our government, our law enforcement community, and our churches, we are refusing to look at the truth. We're refusing to look at the knowledge. We are being destroyed from within and from outside because we've rejected the truth and we've rejected the knowledge. So our first line is we must repent. Lord, forgive us if we choose not to look at the truth, if we choose not to look at what is necessary. Sometimes we have to look at evil. Sometimes you have to look evil in the face to understand that God is good and that there is a righteous truth. And so I want to encourage us, don't turn your eyes and your face away from the truth. Don't turn your heart away from the truth. And with that, we're going to dive in today. We have a lot to cover tonight on our program. And I want to introduce our guests to our program. We'll bring them on here. And I want to welcome, gentlemen, for you tonight. Again, my apologies. We were on the phone with David Baldovin for a good while and trying to get him on, but I'm not sure it's on his end. His system is somehow rejecting coming on. And so, the enemy's always afoot. But David Boras, we had you on last time, but we weren't able to see you in person. And so tonight it's great to be able to see you in person. And so welcome, David. David, quickly just give us your credentials, so to speak, your background for the audience.
Well, thank you, Sharam, for this opportunity. I was a career Army officer for 23 years. I completed that chapter of my life in 1991, and then I joined civilian law enforcement here in Georgia, where I served for 19 years, 16 with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, and then 3 years with the suburban Atlanta Police Department, where I was the chief of police. Following that, I did upon myself to try to train police officers, primarily in the southeast portion of the United States, about the threat of Islam. And that's when I met Dick Manasseri and David Baldovin and others. And as I said, primarily focused on law enforcement agencies in the Southeast. And when I left just before COVID hit, I had trained over 1,500 law enforcement officers on the threat of Islam. So that, in a nutshell, is the training, or my background. And
appreciate that. Thank you for that, David. And then Dick, how did you get into this? How did you dive into getting involved with Islam, Shariah, things that don't seem to be as popular to talk about now as they used to be?
Well, like a lot of people, I didn't know anything about it. I'm in my senior years, let's put it that way, and all my life I never knew anything about it. We moved to Michigan for family reasons, and it hit me in the face. But I'm very fortunate. I'm really a student of Sharam, and I'm a student of David. So my wife encouraged me to put my money where my mouth is, take a plane to Atlanta, Georgia, and meet up with David Boras and sit in his class. And I was blown away. I sat in the class. David is teaching 60 law enforcement personnel in Alabama in their uniform with their weapons. And I'm sitting there amazed at the content, David's preparation, but also at the reaction. These police men and women were angry that they did not know this. They should have known this. It was taught in the FBI until 2012, when Barack Obama took it out of the training and fired the trainers. And here we are. That was probably 6 years later. And I'm sitting with policemen, and they can't believe what they're hearing from David Boras. David is teaching as if he was teaching in the military or his police department in great detail. And the good news is we have access to all of that training. It's available online at Shariah Crime Stoppers on the YouTube channel. And we're going to probably thank you so much, Sharam, for highlighting the content, because the content it's an example of what's there. The entire 16-hour training is available online.
Yeah, amen to that, Dick. And I have some clips queued up tonight, folks, that we're going to be bringing about for these gentlemen. And this is David Boras' training that he's done, a training that is so necessary. Some of you know that as myself, as a former police officer, I've done some of this training, not to the extent that David has done, and certainly not to the level. I've had probably, not that to that level, but I've had probably about 100 or so officers, different departments that I've taken through a one-day training. But certainly his training is much more extensive. But here's the thing, folks. It's free. It's available. It's on YouTube. It's right there for you at your fingertips. And it's a training that you need to get into the hands of your local elected officials. I was talking gentlemen, to a individual, a gentleman on the city council up there in Minnesota in one of these communities that is fighting one of these Islamic enclaves. And I said, here's the link. Like, please go watch it. So I gave him the link to David's training, and I said, go watch it. If you have contact with your police chief, if you have contact with your sheriff's department, encourage them to go watch this, because we may or may not be able to come there, because like when I'm in Minnesota next month, I'm trying to set up a meeting with these folks, because of course they're being sued by CARE now, because they were able to get a moratorium put on for 1 year of this Muslim-centric enclave. And now this thing in Texas with Epic and what happened in Sugar Land, Texas, and all over the Dallas area, I'm praying that it is going to come upon the somewhat of the consciousness of maybe more Americans. We had the unbelievable jihad attack that happened in Kashmir. We have over Easter weekend, we had at least 100 Christians massacred in Nigeria at the hands of Muslims. And yet it just seems, gentlemen, that people are still ignorant to this. David Boras, I wanted to ask you a question before we jump into some of this training, because over the last year and a half, especially after the attacks in Israel, we saw, and we continue to see, and certainly since the election of President Trump, we continue to see a ramp up of violence. Would you speak? And then I want to play a clip from you guys for what the Islamic part of the Islamic movement is saying in America, and then explain to me, and this is where we could have really used David Baldovin as a former FBI agent, explain to me why federal law enforcement isn't all over this. But David, are you seeing, maybe both of you, question for both of you, are you guys seeing this increase of violence that is, ramping up? David Boras first.
Well, certainly there's many examples of that. Right after the first of the year, we had the attack in New Orleans. And the problem, Shariah, is a lot of people don't even realize they're being attacked by jihadists. It's not normally a law enforcement practice when a crime is committed to ask the question, well, what is the religion of the perpetrator? We normally stay clear of that. So unless somebody else does that looking for us, and there are certainly many websites that are doing that, Pamela Geller is one, Robert Spencer is another, and there are other sites like that will reveal the background of the attacker, and at the time that you understand that it might be a jihadist attack, then you have to get into the weeds, so to speak, to figure out the true motive. But if you want to if you have to label it a jihadist attack, the first thing you have to determine is, was the perpetrator a Muslim? Mm-hmm. You can't have a jihadist attack without a Muslim perpetrator. Might be something else, but it's not an Islamic attack at that point. Only when it's committed by a Muslim do you have a jihadist or the potential for a jihadist attack. So yes, we're seeing some more. We're seeing a lot of violence on the far left right now against Trump. And it's going to get worse. I'm absolutely convinced of that. This is all part of end times. Mm-hmm. So we have to be prepared for that and be willing to recognize it when we see it.
Absolutely agree 100%. And let's go to this clip, gentlemen. I'm going to share this clip here real quick. There's a website called Canary Mission. I don't know if either of you are familiar with this website, but it is focusing specifically on the so-called Palestinian movement, which we know, for folks, for those of you who may not know, we have documented before that it is the Muslim Brotherhood that started the Islamic Association of Palestine, which then morphed into Hamas, which then was designated in 1993 by the United States government, by the US State Department, as a terrorist organization, just like the Trump administration designated MS-13 or Tren de Agua or any of these groups as designated terror organizations. And so let's go to this clip, gentlemen, and I want you to just see what they're saying. And folks, I apologize, there is some language in it, but there's no way getting around that. So for those of you in our audience, my apologies ahead of time for a little bit of language that is there, but I'm going to share this here with you folks. And so here's the website, Canary Mission. I encourage all of you to check this out. But here is Yahya Sinwar. You know, they're lifting him up as the Hamas leader that was ultimately taken out by Israel. But watch this and watch what they're saying on American streets.
I support Hamas. I am Hamas.
We are Hamas. Yes, we're all Hamas. All of us Hamas.
Hamas is me. Hamas is you. Hamas is our children.
You see this fucking two-leg sign, this bitch? Hamas, I sure do support Hamas. Yeah, I support Hamas.
Love Hamas. Long live Hamas.
I salute Hamas. A job well done.
Allahu Akbar, Hamas! Allahu Akbar, Hamas! You're Jewish, motherfucker! We dedicate all of you!
Dr. Sam, give them help.
اضرب كلام فيه يلا يلا يا حماس يلا يلا يا حماس يلا October 7th
They are doing their resistance and they are freeing themselves and in turn freeing us.
Anna Arif Al-Mushak Al-Bariya.
All right, so let me come back to me here real quick, and this is what I'm trying to address, gentlemen. Is that I want to ask David Boris first. From a law enforcement standpoint, I'm very perplexed because if I stand out, let's say, and I start shouting in the streets, I am ISIS. I am ISIS. You would expect, right, that would then be some sort of a referral to law enforcement to investigate that individual because they are saying that they're aligned with a designated terrorist organization, which is, last time I checked, at least a federal crime. Material support of terrorism, I thought, was a crime. Allegiance to terrorism is a crime. People have been arrested in America. People have been charged in America for supporting ISIS. Hamas, as I said, has been a designated terrorist organization since 1993 under Clinton. That was under Bill Clinton. So how is it that we are not then going after these individuals, identifying every single one of them and saying they are going to be investigated, indicted, prosecute it, if depending on their status in this nation, removed from our nation. Now, we've seen some of this with the Trump administration with student visas and things like that. But when you have people saying, I salute Hamas, I am Hamas, we are Hamas, and this is not brand new. This is not just in 2024. This has been going on for CARE. We know CARE is Hamas, the Council on American Islamic Relations. David Boris, would you comment first? And then I want to go to Dick, please.
Yeah, well, first of all, you have a lot of these demonstrations are taking place in so-called sanctuary cities, where the elected officials have purposely told the police, hands off, don't disrupt any of these groups. So you have, you have that issue. Another issue you have is hate speech. Hate speech has been ruled by the Supreme Court as protected speech. So you're stuck there, and you're also stuck with freedom of assembly, which is also guaranteed by the First Amendment. So you have some problems to overcome. And just because somebody says that they support Hamas or affiliate with Hamas, personally, I'm not sure that is enough for law enforcement to act on that. They can try to find out the name of the individual, if you will, but that's going to be very problematic. A lot of these people that are demonstrating now are being paid and coming from outside local jurisdictions. So that presents a unique set of problems all in itself. So this is not going to be an easy nut to crack. Now, if it happens on college campuses and universities right now, the Trump administration is taking steps to try to curb that by withholding funding to universities that allow these types of demonstrations to take place, especially those that are anti-Semitic and are targeting Jewish students and keeping them from attending their classes and presenting them or actually harming them. So the Trump administration is taking some steps in it that the previous one totally ignored. So we'll see how that pans out. We can see today Harvard and other universities are actively resisting the withholding of federal funds. And there are all sorts of lawsuits now that are being filed against the federal government, claiming that their rights to academic freedom and freedom of speech is being infringed upon. So we'll see how the courts rule.
Right. Well, the only thing that I would maybe want to clarify, David, is that, again, my point is, if we are prosecuting people in this country for any material support of the Islamic State, which we have, then I would argue that absolutely is the same with Hamas. That's my argument, is that then it's inconsistent if we prosecute one Islamic terror group and not prosecute another Islamic terror group like Hamas that is responsible, obviously, for the mass murder of 1,400 Jews and many others. But I hear what you're saying as far as the difficulty of that. Sorry, I got to come back to me. Dick, what's your comments? And then after, go ahead and comment, Dick. And then I want to get into our first part of the training that David has done on violence in Islam towards women, because one of the perplexing things is how lots of women and feminists seem to support Islam. Let's wear a hijab, support Muslims. But your thoughts on this video, your thoughts on what's going on.
Well, I want to thank you for exposing the training, because in the training, people are going to see how deadly Islam is. Jihad is part of Islam. It's not like, so I think one of the points, and I appreciate what David Boris had to say, bottom line is there's no quick fix. We have a weak government. By the way, I want to congratulate you, Shariah. You're pulling together the low level and the high level topics. Last week, you spoke to Pastor Whitney. You spoke about one world religion. And basically, that's part of the answer why we're not doing anything about Islam. There is, as you and David Whitney last week spoke, there is one world religion almost complete. The leading organizations on the move to one world religion is the Roman Catholic Church and Islam.
Right.
Digress for just a second. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, look it up, USCCB website, extensive conversation about Islam being their friend. Islam is a partner in faith with the Roman Catholic Church. That is a very powerful mixture in the United States. Many politicians, many leaders, the vice president was with the Pope. So, frankly, part of the reason nobody does anything about this is the normalization of Islam. Even though Jihad is part of Islam, it's not separate. Islam is being normalized across the country, and that affects every jurisdiction in the country in terms of leadership and the way people address law enforcement. The other point would be, given David's comment, people listening to this should become aware of the detail in the training, because this is what you are going to be exposed to. Nobody is going to come to your aid. So I would advise people, listen to the training and think about yourself and your family and how are you going to protect yourself, because law enforcement is basically, for the most part, not in the game right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that to David's point as well is that this is being allowed to happen. I think it was a great point that David made, that yes, we do see that oftentimes these are in cities that are, I mean, pretty well every major city in America now is so leftist. Even here in East Tennessee, Knoxville, the city of Knoxville where I live is our mayor is a avowed Marxist, here in deep South Tennessee in the city. So you're absolutely right. But as some of our people are saying online, we're so late in acting, aren't we? We're so late because, again, my people are being destroyed for a rejection of them. That's my whole point. That's why I feel like the Lord laid that verse on my heart, because my people are being destroyed for the rejection of the knowledge. It's not that there was a lack of this information out there. You guys have put it out there on YouTube. It's been available. The opportunity was there. David, Boris, really quick, tell people what happened when CARE came after you in Georgia. Are you able to share that?
Well, yeah, it was some training that I was asked to put on from the Barrow County Sheriff's Office. Barrow County is northeast of Atlanta. And about a week prior to the training, CARE, along with the ACLU and other organizations, got wind of the fact that the training was being offered. And for one solid week, the sheriff and I led the evening news in Atlanta, talking about how Islamophobic we were and that we were harassing and Muslims and speaking falsehoods, and the training wasn't sanctioned, and on and on and on, some of the lies and distortions that they put out, to the point that even the governor got involved and directed that no officer would receive training credit if they attended the class.
Yeah.
Well, we had about 60 officers attending the class. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is that eventually, some 6 or 8 months later, they did receive credit for the training. But the governor was totally gun shy about the training. He was afraid that Atlanta's reputation might be in some way tarnished by CARE and the ACLU and other organizations. And so he took the easy way. He directed that the training credit would not be given. But as I said, we had some people, fortunately, in high places that went around that edict, but it just took some time.
Yeah.
And they were able to get the training credit that they deserved for that 8-hour class.
For that 8-hour class. But we're talking about the Republican governor of Georgia. This is the Republican governor of Georgia, Governor Kemp, who then, this is what happens, folks. People have been asking me for the last month, how is this happening in Texas? How is this stuff happening in Texas? Greg Abbott. What did we find out about Greg Abbott? That one of the communities that has housed illegals gave him $1.5 million for his campaign. So if you think that
Bingo.
the Republican Party is going to save us, or that it's all bluster, right? Greg Abbott says no Sharia in Texas, no Sharia in Texas. Yeah, that's nonsense. It's already been going on, and I don't have time tonight. But if gentlemen, if you've seen the Rare Foundation, Amy Meek posted the latest video of Yasser Qadi talking about that. All eyes are on us. We've already built Epic 1.0. We're going to build Epic 2.0. And he basically said, without saying, this is the blueprint. This is going to be the blueprint. He said, there's nothing like this anywhere in North America. And this, one of the things that I've been saying is that this is a new strategy, which I believe is tied to the global strategy of these 15-minute cities that the globalists want. And the Muslims are very, very willing to be the guinea pigs to say, hey, you give us the ability, we'll form these now Muslim-centric cities, but we'll make it a beautiful 15-minute city. Everything will be there, shopping centers, all this stuff. So let's go to the video. This is speaking of the training, folks, here's the first part. Now, again, there's so much of this. This is only the first part of the training that is on Sharia Crime Stoppers. If you go to where you see on the screen there, under Dick's name, Sharia Crime Stoppers. Look it up on YouTube. You'll see the 16-part training. But let's go to the first training here, gentlemen. And I believe, let me see here. It is right here. We're talking about violence against women. So let's watch this, and then we'll come back, and I want to get you guys to comment and share. This is David Boris's training on threats of Sharia crimes. Here we go.
So our first crime, Sharia crime, is violence against women. Under Sharia law, women are considered the property of their male family members. They are objects to be used. And if they are disloyal or fail to follow the rules of conduct prescribed for them, they can be physically beaten according to the Quran, chapter 4, verse 34. The beating of disobedient Muslim wives by their husbands is promoted worldwide. Take the Muslim women in Gaza explaining the rules for wife beating in order to maintain marital harmony. And the same message of Sharia-sanctioned wife beating within marriage was broadcast last year in Australia. And also in Canada. Note how beatings are supposed to be done lightly, with only a twig or a toothbrush. But of course, not everyone promotes beating lightly. A chaplain in the Canadian military promotes wife beating as long as it's kept private within the family. What we're talking about is assault and battery under U.S. law. In 2013, instructions for wife beating were broadcast in England throughout Europe. My first experience with Sharia-sanctioned wife beating came in Woodstock, Georgia, when local officers arrested a Muslim husband for assault while being led away in handcuffs. He yelled that it was perfectly legal for him to beat his wife in his own country. Just one of the many examples of how wife beating lightly actually plays out. Reported October 19, 2017, Abdullah Al-Hor, arrested for battery and false imprisonment for severely beating his wife over several days. Sharia-sanctioned violence against women is not limited to Muslim wives, but also includes non-Muslim women as well through rape. Before leaving office as the New York City's police commissioner, Bill Bratton issued a warning to young non-Muslim women to avoid taking taxi cabs alone at night. And the sexual assaults against non-Muslim women by Muslim men are not confined to New York City. They have become a national issue, especially where colleges and universities are located. Uber drivers sexually assaulting women at Michigan State University, New Haven, Connecticut, the University of Florida, Dallas, Texas, Philadelphia, St. Paul, Laguna Beach, California, Las Vegas, and in Chicago, and the corresponding newspaper headline. And in Detroit, and finally, Zionsville, Indiana. As reported in September of last year, Muslim cab and Uber drivers are targeting non-Muslim women for rape and sexual assaults because they are considered unclean and therefore the spoils of war. The same problem currently ongoing throughout Europe.
Okay, let's stop there, and I'm just gonna bring us back. Bring us back here, gentlemen, to this here, and then we'll come back to more training. So let's comment here. Why are we here on this? There we go. So Dick, you first. Again, you guys presented this information on Shariah Crime Stoppers. This is just a glimpse of the depth of what they can get with. And what I love about this is the absolute, not only that David Boras cites and sources Islamic text, which is critical, so because we have to be able to cite original sources, but that he gives specific examples that this is happening. It's not going to happen. It's happening. Your thoughts, and then we'll go to David, and then we got a couple other clips we want to play tonight.
Well, first of all, thank you, Sharam, for showing this. Again, this is 6 years ago this was done, and so you can imagine all that's happened since that time, and we have had no police or no law enforcement response. I want to say a couple of things. So there's 16 one-hour sessions in the playlist. Sharam, I don't know if you could put up the actual link to the playlist either with this video or maybe on the Till website, but the link directly.
Yes.
When you go to Shariah Crime Stoppers, we have 150 episodes. The link to this particular 16 session playlist is what we want to get out there. There's 16 of those, and every one of these topics that we're covering lightly today, an entire hour is devoted to. I also want to make the point, when you see all those different faces coming up one after another, David knows every one of those cases. He knows the location, the name of the person who was indicted, etc.
Yeah.
This is deep for police, but average citizens can get a feeling for example, if you've got a daughter at a university and she takes an Uber driver, you need to make her aware. But right now, policemen do not typically understand what we just saw.
Well, because they're not tying it back to Islam. They'll say it's an assault. They'll say it's a, and to David's point, and Dick, I've told you this before, the same thing happened to me on 2 arrests that I had when I was a police officer. I went into a situation where the other officers were flabbergasted that the male perpetrator would say the comment, look, in my country, this is completely permissible. One of them was from Iran, was from the country that I was born in, and tried to explain to me that under Iranian law, under Sharia, this is permissible. And the other officers stood there like, they were listening to Chinese. David Boras, your quick comments, and then let's go to the next clip. And then Dick, I'll share that. I'll bring that up here in a minute. Actually, while David is commenting, let me bring that up here. I believe that right here, gentlemen, right here, folks, you see on the right. So there's the playlist on the right. That's what you're talking about, Dick?
It is. There's 16 different 1-hour webinars or videos now that can be watched. You just saw 3 minutes from the very first one, and you're going to see a few more clips from the very first one.
Right.
But the topic of rape and crimes, there's episode number 3 or number 4 is an entire episode on violence against women. This is very, very comprehensive, as it needs to be, so police can do their job.
Yeah, right here is episode 3 there that you brought in. So that's episode 3, like you said, that is all about, I think that was 3. Did I click on the wrong one? I think
that was number 1. That's just setting, well, that's just, let's see. Well, yeah, there's one that's labeled Women in Sharia, which would just amplify this whole topic.
Oh, there it is. Sharia law and women, right there. There's the one that's week 3. There
Good evening,
Sharia law
and welcome to week 3 of our 16-week webinar.
Yeah, comprehensive training
Shariah
for
crimes,
social workers. And again, folks, my commitment, right? This is the commitment that I've made, that we're going to bring this about and cover some of these things on this show, because nobody is covering it. Nobody is going to this depth, and it's got to be for more than just law enforcement. But David Boras, real quick, sorry, I wanted to get your comment on what you presented.
Well, it's important for the audience to realize that crimes against women are officially sanctioned by Shariah. And the sanctions for these crimes are found in the Quran, chapter and verse, that Muslim men are authorized to beat their wives if the wife is being giving him any kind of problems in the marriage, being disobedient. He has the right to beat her after he has first put her on notice, warned her that she's being disobedient. The second step is to withhold affection for 1 month. And if neither of those steps prove successful, then he can beat her. The other crime we talked about is crimes against non-Muslim women.
Right.
Within the Quran itself, it talks about how they're considered the spoils of war. Mm-hmm. In other words, Muslim men in a foreign country such as the United States, the Uber drivers, all Muslim men, felt that these women were being disobedient to Islam. They were uncovered. They weren't properly dressed. They were going out at night by themselves, engaging in alcohol or what have you in local bars. And so it was up to them to be treated as the spoils of war. And that's what Muslim men could do. And it's perfectly legal under Sharia. So you take this big housing development now in Plano, Texas, it's going to be governed or influenced by Sharia. And we've got a large domestic area that's going to be sanctioning wife beating, as well as the violence against non-Muslim women, because again, they're considered the spoils of war.
So I was revisiting the Reliance of the Traveler here, the Sharia law, one of the most authenticated books on Islamic law, codified over 1,000 years, certified by top Islamic scholars, including Al-Azhar. David, it says here in this section, and then let's go to the next topic that we're going to cover, which I believe was we were going to talk about honor killings, because that, again, see, part of what you're sharing, and I just appreciate what you just shared, is that what can we expect? What can law enforcement expect? What can city leaders expect? What can community leaders expect? What can Christians expect? What can we expect as we see these type of enclaves established? What is the pattern that we've seen in other countries? What is the pattern of violence? First, towards internally within the Muslim community, because as you talked about, Muslim on Muslim violence, Muslim on Muslim crimes, then Muslims against non-Muslims as they get to a more confident, secure position. Then establishment of their own system, like we've seen in Western Europe, in the UK, with some 80 plus Sharia courts, where you want to get a divorce in the UK, you don't need to go to a British court. You can go before a magistrate in an Islamic court and get a divorce or custody. But for example, in section M10.0.3, a husband may permit his wife to leave the house for a lesson in sacred law. The husband may forbid his wife to leave the home because of the hadith related to Bayhaqi and the Prophet. Quote, it is not permissible for a woman who believes in Allah on the last day to allow someone into her husband's house if he is opposed, or to go out if he is averse to it. It talks about the husband being able to have more than one wife. It talks about that in that section, as you talked about, the aspect of dealing with a rebellious wife, which is what you just went through. So I just want to confirm that what David is talking about, from a perspective of a former Muslim, from a perspective of someone whose my birth country is being governed by this type of law, that this is not what did you call it, David? What did Kara accuse you of? Islamophobia and lies.
Yeah, extreme prejudice against
extreme prejudice, right? We are reading from their sources. We are quoting their text. We are quoting their prophet. Let's go to the next clip here, gentlemen, that I believe is talking about now honor violence. If I remember right, let me see.
1638.
1638. Yes, thank you, Dick. And here we go. But I'm trying to think which one it was. Nope, it's right there. There it is. Okay, sorry. That's what happens when I run the show by myself. Here it is. So here is 1638. Let's now watch this on honor violence, part of just week 1, folks. This is just week 1 of the training.
Honor killings and violence is our next category of Sharia crimes. Honor shame cultures maintain social control by enforcing strict rules of behavior, especially for female members. Any violation leads to family shame, especially for the male members. And they can only regain or establish family honor by shedding the blood of the offending female. So in Texas, 2 sisters murdered by their father for bringing shame to their family. Their crime? Becoming too westernized by their dress, their public behavior, their desire to date non-Muslim boys, working a part-time job, and being out at night. Over 90% of honor violence crimes in the U.S. are for this reason. Then there is the recent case in Farmington Hills, Michigan, reported September of last year, where Muhammad Al-Tanawi murdered his mother because she was allowing their daughter to become westernized. When the local police chief was told he just had his first honor killing, he refused to believe it. Indeed, there are many other young Muslim women in America who have been brutally murdered by their family members to reestablish family honor. This book was published this year, and Chesler's book covers how widespread honor violence is in the United States and how widespread the attempts are to cover it up by labeling it domestic violence. During the webinar, we'll cover the major differences between domestic violence and honor violence crimes, some of which are multiple family perpetrators, overkilling, and body mutilation. One critical lesson for peace officers and social service workers and judicial officials when dealing with Muslim female runaways: don't return the victim home. They may be fleeing from the threat of female genital mutilation, a forced marriage, punishment for rape, or the threat of honor violence. Runaways are at extreme risk if they return to their families. Our next crime, apostasy, killing of apostates, and blasphemy.
We're going to get to that here just in a second. So let's come back and just get a quick comment, gentlemen, from where's our screen here? Sorry. David.
By the way, Sharam, I lived in Michigan at the time of that murder, and I could give you a little scenario what happened. We were contacted by the local police force. A woman in the police force contacted us just because she was concerned that the police department was not doing their job. Keep in mind, in order for the 15-year-old to kill his mother in a Muslim environment, when in fact the father and the mother had been at odds, there was a protective order against the father. The father was not supposed to deal with the children, but he did deal with the son. In a Muslim situation like that, you would normally, correct me if I'm wrong, David, in fact, I think you told me this exactly at the time, the police should have investigated the father, and they should have investigated the imam. An honor killing is a decision made by the rest of the family and the imam to decide that if it brings enough shame to Islam, then they have to take action. So the lady that called me was an officer. She was concerned no one would allow them to explore the honor killing concept, talk to the father, and talk to the imam. I think that's the case, right, David?
That's correct. That's correct. The
Without
other
example.
aspect of honor killing is that it usually involves the entire family.
There you
Keep
go.
in mind that this offending female who has become too westernized has brought shame on the entire family. Not just the father, who being the head of the family is expected to take corrective action, but everybody else, whether it be the mother, other siblings of the offending female or what have you, and they're putting pressure on the father to take action. Because if they don't, if he does not take action, the shame still holds over the family. Not only family members will put pressure on the head of the household, but neighbors as well, especially if they're living in a Muslim community, because they all understand what the rules are. The rules of honor shame have to be enforced. And so they'll put pressure on the father to take action against that offending female. And the only way that they can correct the problem is by the shedding of blood, by the killing of the offending female.
Yeah. Yeah, this is exactly why we have, again, we're going to cover in future shows apostasy laws, blasphemy laws. Right now, there's a very, very well-known case that is happening in Pakistan of a Christian who is on death row for blasphemy, what is considered slandering Islam. If you say something negative about Islam, you will and can be charged with a capital offense. As David is saying, there has to be the shedding of blood. Let me read something to you that our friend David Baldovin, who could not be with us again, folks, I apologize. We had some technical issues that we're going to address for next time. But here's what he said, and I think it's a great point as we kind of wrap this up. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll have time to get into the third segment. I really wanted to get into the apostasy because that really, that's kind of personal to me because that's what I am, right? I'm an apostate and I left Islam and I deserve the death sentence. And that's another aspect of ultimately honor killing. But here's what David Baldwin says, and I want to get your comments on it, gentlemen, because David Boras, this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. I think we have missed, and Dick Manasseri, Pastor Whitney, what I had him last week, made this point. Excellent point.
Yeah.
The entirety of the problem is that we have allowed Islam and its law, Shariah, to be protected under the First Amendment, to be protected as a religion. So here's David Baldwin's point. We often miss the point, in my opinion. This is not about freedom of religion. It is about Article 6 of the Constitution. Sharia, therefore, is not legally valid. And here's what Article 6 says of the United States Constitution. This Constitution and the laws of the United States shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state or the contrary notwithstanding. So the supremacy clause is what I've argued, that Islam is not. The reason I believe, David, that these people should be prosecuted is because to say I am Hamas is to say I want the overthrow of the United States government. I want to kill Americans. To say, if you prefer American law or Sharia law, to say I prefer Sharia law, that is sedition. It is not First Amendment protected speech. That's the whole problem. We are giving them a pass. And Yasser Qadi right now, the blowhard Yasser Qadi, who we have warned Christians about, Brandon House and I and Usama Datdog for the last 10 years. And now they're taking over Texas and they're bragging about it. And Texas that gave Pakistan a day, May 23rd, Pakistan Day. Yeah, the same country that just killed 30 people in India and Kashmir simply because they're not Muslims, going person to person. Are you a Muslim? No, shoot them in the head. Taking their pants off to see if they're circumcised. If they're not circumcised, shoot them in the head. So the problem is that we should have gone on the offensive and exercise our lawfare and say, no, Islam can never be protected under the First Amendment. As Pastor David Whitney says, Muslims should not be allowed to build one mosque in America because of the fact that any outward expression of Islam is antithetical to the supreme law of the land, should not be allowed in any way, shape, or form. And even if they go in their own home and privately want to be able to pray 5 times a day or whatever, that's fine. But the moment they cross over and they break our laws, now they not only should be prosecuted, but they should be removed from this country. We cannot allow the continual argument of freedom of religion. We cannot allow the argument of freedom of speech. It does not apply to Islam because Islam does not believe in freedom of speech. Islam does not believe in freedom of religion. Islam does not believe in freedom of assembly. Islam does not believe in freedom of the press. Islam does not believe that you have the right to redress your grievances to your government, because go to Iran and try to redress your grievances to your government and see how far that gets you. So this is my argument, gentlemen. And this is, I think, what David Baldovin is making an excellent point. Absolutely. Is the pressure should be back on. We need to go on the offensive and put the pressure back on our elected officials and on our government. Stop giving them protection. Supremacy clause, supremacy clause, supremacy clause. It is either this Constitution or get out. That was my rant. I'll go to David first and then Dick for your closing comments.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more that if they break a law, they have to be prosecuted. Your trouble you're going to have are you're going to have prosecutors who do not want to go down that road.
Sure.
And prosecute Muslims for being Muslim and saying things that we don't like, that may in fact constitute malicious talk or what have you. So there's, you've got how many different states in this union and how many different cities and jurisdictions to try to find a prosecutor that's going to go after someone for claiming to be a member or a supporter of Hamas. I think that's going to be problematic. Now, in terms of taking violence against women, certainly assault and battery is a violation of U.S. law, and any prosecutor should be able to go after these people for that. The same for domestic violence. And when it happened in my jurisdiction, we brought charges against that Muslim father for beating his wife. And that was not a problem to do that whatsoever. That was a clear-cut case of a violation of U.S. law.
Well, I guess, look, gentlemen, the reality is as people are commenting on our chat tonight, they're commenting on, again, we are in dire straits, right? We are late in the game. And I guess I'm throwing a Hail Mary. I'm saying that it's time that we prosecute Islam. I think the only way out of this is to go on the offensive and begin to prosecute Islam. Islam at its core is sedition. Islam, because David, what happens is every time we do that, and I agree with you 100%, that we can do and we should do. At the minimum, we should be doing that. And these foolish local leaders that think, oh, it's going to be wonderful. We're going to have a Muslim-only city, and it's going to be beautiful. They're going to have a nice park and whatever. Then when they deal with the stuff that you're talking about, when law enforcement has to deal with this stuff, when social services has to deal with this stuff, when they got to deal with welfare cases like in Minnesota, where They're stealing millions and hundreds of millions of dollars from the taxpayers. But the problem is, at the end of the day, some Muslim will stand up and say, that's not the real Islam. You see, this father beating his wife, that's not really Islam. Islam is peaceful. Islam is tolerant. We can coexist. Oh, the honor killing is not Islam. That's not Islam. This is not Islam. That's our problem. And to Pastor David Whitney's point last week, go back to our founders, go back to Thomas Jefferson, go back to the fact that they understood Islam better than we do today. And they understood that you have to prefer Christianity in this nation and Christianity alone in our form of government. But again, I know, David, you're right. That like what I'm proposing is a Hail Mary. What I'm proposing is we are right now on the 5-yard line with 95 yards to go, and it's 2 minutes left in the game because America is in deep trouble. Dick, that's the reality I want to get across. Is that Trump is not going to fix? Yeah, go ahead, Dick.
No. I just want to thank you again for the courage you're showing. Not only are you an apostate, but you are blaspheming. So you need to obviously protect yourself and your family, as does anybody who's going to speak out. On the topic of sedition, I want to make a comment. In the state of Michigan and in many other states, people tried to deal with this issue by coming up with something called American law for American courts.
Right.
Putting the emphasis on the Constitution and American law, no foreign law. That was brought before a Republican legislature who voted it down in many states, and in Michigan in particular. I know specifically, by the way, just to make it clear, I was raised a Catholic. I'm not trying to beat up on individual Catholics, but the truth of the matter is, in Michigan, the Michigan Catholic Conference absolutely sided with Islam and defeated American law for American courts. Interfaith dialogue, which you also have the courage to talk about, is one of the underlying problems. Why would you have interfaith dialogue between an archbishop and an imam when Muslims, Shariah says Jesus is not the Son of God. He was never crucified. And the paraclete, the person that tells you what to do, the spirit inside of you, is Muhammad, a pedophile murderer. So how bad is it? It's bad enough that there's interfaith dialogue that makes this normal and keeps police and other people away from doing their job.
Yeah, no, agreed 100%. And David Boras, I agree with you because I think that what you are doing in this training, this is practical. This is something that can be done right now. So please don't mistake the fact that I 100% support this in the short term. I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking, is there a way to get out of this? Short of the Lord doing a miracle, we are going to go the way of Western Europe. We are going to go. I mean, they have so much power. I've seen it. I saw it in Iran. I've lost my birth country. To my audience, look, when I get passionate about this, understand I lost my birth country to this evil ideology. I've lost relatives to this evil ideology. As Dick said, I've been threatened. I've had death threats against me more than I can count because of this evil ideology. I've had threats against my family because of this evil ideology. And so I'm thinking long term. But David Boras is absolutely correct. In the short term, if our elected officials, if law enforcement, if our community leaders get this training and understand that this is not okay and this is exactly what's happening, they need to prosecute. And if they go the step further and just connect it back to Islam, then I think we're back in the game. Then at least we're back in the game. Then at least we get the ball back and maybe we can throw a Hail Mary. But so you guys are absolutely correct. I'm just trying to figure out, Lord, is there a long-term strategy? And Dick, you're absolutely correct. Same thing happened in Washington State. Same thing happened in Idaho. We were in Idaho. We got it through the House, goes to the Senate. And because of the Mormons who sided with the Muslims, they killed American laws for American courts in Idaho. So it's on us. Again, my people perish, not because of a lack of knowledge, but because they reject knowledge. That's it. We come full circle. So, gentlemen, I can't wait to have you guys back. again, to our good brother, David Baldovin. David, we're sorry about the technical issues. We'll get that worked out, but I'm glad that we were able to bring your comment via text. But thank you, guys. And next time, folks, we're going to go into more of this training. Again, I want to encourage you, go to Shariah Crime Stoppers on YouTube. And next time, Dick, I'll make sure I'll have that link. But the only challenge is that people, it's a longer link because it's on YouTube. And so it's hard.
Can you put it on? Can you put it maybe in Till Ministry or a place where people can go online and see it?
Yes, yes. I will make sure that what I'll do, folks, is I'll add it to the Rumble channel. I'll add the link to the Rumble channel in the comments. I'll put it in the notes. We'll put it there. And you go to Shariah Crime Stoppers on YouTube, and you can find 16 weeks. 16. Look, it's up to you. It's up to you. These gentlemen have put out this information. They've spent the hundreds, thousands of hours studying, training, and real life experience that as a police chief, David Boris has. As a police officer, I have. As a FBI agent, David Baldwin has. As someone who got immersed into this as with Dick has. People coming to him, as you said, in Michigan. So please do this and take the time and then share it. Share it with your key leaders. Share it with your pastor. So thank you, guys. God bless you guys. Thank you for being with us tonight. And again, I'm sorry that we didn't get to our third clip. We will get to that next time, Lord willing. And we'll keep educating people on these specific things that need to happen. You guys have a great rest of your night. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharam.
God bless you, Sharam.
God bless you guys. Thank you. All right, folks. I want to thank you for being with us tonight on Truth in Love Ministries show, Truth Today. I want to encourage you that if you, again, want to check out and get more information, go to our website, tilministry.com, tilministry.com. Please do me a favor, and if you're on Rumble, click follow and like, share the link. Also, remember that we are live streaming to YouTube as well tonight. First time that after almost 3 years, we are back on YouTube. We'll see how long it lasts. But share that link as well. Share the Facebook link if you're on Facebook. But check us out. And folks, if you want to support this ministry, keep us going. There's very few that are doing this. Please go to our website and prayerfully consider making that one-time donation to tillministry.com/donate. You can do it online. You can mail in a check, whichever way you prefer. Our P.O. box is there. It's been, as I mentioned, a tough beginning of 2025. Lord willing, it will pick up. Lord willing, I believe by faith that this door is opening, that some more people are having their eyes open to what we've been warning about for years. For David and Dick and myself and David Baldovin and others who've been warning about this for years. And maybe, prayerfully, some more are opening their eyes. But we travel. We speak, as I'm going to do in Michigan, in Wisconsin and Minnesota next month. We don't charge. We don't even charge for expenses. We go by faith. And sometimes things are provided and sometimes they're not. And so we are several $1,000s in the hole because of travel expenses and all those things, because we just go. We want to go and get the message out. So if you would prayerfully consider that one-time donation, or if you prayerfully want to consider being a part of our Gideon Army of 300, those are our monthly supporters that pray for us on a monthly basis and then donate on a monthly basis. We'd be grateful for your support, but we'd be grateful for your prayers. Just pray that God would be honored and glorified in all that we do. Also, if you want to get amazing freeze-dried food, you can visit our website, therighteousthrive.thrivelife.com. This is our incredible freeze-dried food. Thrive is, in my opinion, the best on the market, both for emergency supplies, but also for daily cooking. April specials, that accidental screen that I brought earlier, they got lots of April specials right now. And if you purchase anything on there, 10% goes back to support this ministry. So you get practical things, and the ministry is blessed through that. They got lots of amazing sales right now. Some of their stuff up to 50% off retail pricing. Best way, set up a monthly plan, $99 a month. Instead of retail, you pay wholesale. Instead of shipping, you pay no shipping. You make up your money. That's what our family does. Every month, we just allocate a little bit to it. Final thing, I want you to start praying. If you want to go to Israel, folks, we're going to have information here very soon on our Israel trip. We're going to be going with Adventure Bible Tours to Israel. Whoops, I got to get this other banner off there. To Israel. It's going to be May 4th, Lord willing, May 4th to May 14th of 2026, next year. A year, just over a year from now, we are going on an 11-day trip, 9 days in country to Israel, life-changing. It will bring your Bibles to life. And our guide is going to be a Messianic Jew, a Jew who is a believer in Yeshua, a believer in the Messiah. Phenomenal. I've been to Israel with the Jewish guide. That was good. That was great. But this is going to be phenomenal with a Messianic believer who's going to be our guide. And by the way, East Knoxville people, East Tennessee people, Aaron Lavarco, that's our guide. He's going to be going with us to Israel next year. He's going to be being our guide to Israel. He will be here May 3rd, right here in East Tennessee. Check that out on our website on the ministry. Again, be praying. Out of the studio. I apologize about that, folks. Sorry about that. Be praying about the trip, I said, and share that with people if you know anybody else that has been praying about going to Israel for next year. Pastor Shahram Hadian saying thank you so much, and I want to thank you guys for being with us. We'll have these gentlemen back on with us again in a few weeks for part 3 of Sharia crimes coming to a city. Here, taking over cities all over America, folks. Time to wake up, time to pray, and time to boldly proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. Do not fall for this interfaith deception, multi-faith deception. We do not worship the same God. There's one true God, and his name is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh. It's Jesus Christ is the true God. May he be glorified in all that we do. Pastor Shahram Hayden saying, have a great night. Lord bless you guys. And we will see you next Tuesday. Sunday, we'll be live streaming, by the way, around 1 o'clock Eastern from our sermon to Facebook. And then we'll see you next Tuesday right here on the program at noon Eastern time. Good night and have a great weekend. God bless.